Welcome in, Cowboys Nation, to another episode of Doc Talk with Dr. Boothby of OSMI. And I wish we were coming together off of a victory, but instead, what's the old saying? Victory snatched from the jaws of what is it? That's what
Yeah,
happened with the Cowboys, man.
exactly. Yeah, no kidding. I agree with you. Close but no cigar.
Mm.
There's a lot of sayings that I think could be used for that game, but unfortunately, at the end of the day, no W. So
No W.
no
If there
W.
was, and I hate taking silver linings out, but in the spirit of what we do here between on Doc Talk, if there was a silver lining to take out from an injury standpoint, it doesn't seem like anyone came out of that game with a major injury. Maybe some nicks and bruises. I do know that Cavante Turpin, who's a littler guy, he kind of got crunched early in that game. Possible rib situation, possible shoulder situation, but came back in there and scored a touchdown. So the Cowboys seem like they got out there clean, but we'll figure it out on Wednesday when the injury report drops.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a good sign, him coming back in and being successful there. So yeah, hopefully, you're right. That's a you knock off one more game where there's not hopefully a serious setback or a serious injury that we've got to overcome, and you're right. There's a little bit of silver lining.
Now, coming into this game, there was a question mark around a couple guys, Chumi Doga and Tyron Smith, with Tyron Smith being the headliner. He had
Right.
missed week 8, I believe, with a stinger. He suffered a stinger in practice, which was a little scary because you're not really going full speed in practice.
Sure.
And so he missed that week and he came back in week 9. And from just the first watch, it seemed like he played well. But it kind of shocked me that the stinger kept him out the game last week. So a couple questions in regards to stingers. Number one, what specifically, for those who may not know, what is a stinger from the medical standpoint side of things?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, a stinger is something, or a burner, people call them different things. But a stinger is something that people talk about all the time. And maybe not as many people know exactly, what that is. And so basically, the our normal anatomy has our spinal cord that comes from our brain down to our lower back. And in our neck region, out pop these nerve roots, right? And in your neck, the nerve roots, once they exit the spinal cord, basically at a certain level, they start to intertwine. And so when they start to intertwine, it's almost like a switchboard, right? So like before they go down your arm, they kind of come out of the spinal cord, go into what we call the brachial plexus. And this brachial plexus is kind of a group of these entwined nerves, and then they separate into individual peripheral nerves that go down your arm. So in a trauma, typically where kind of the neck is either forced down or to the side, or there's a traumatic injury that stretches or pulls or even compresses or pinches the brachial plexus, or this switchboard of intertwined nerves, that can cause a burner or a stinger. And the reason it's called that is because the sensation that people get is this kind of pain that radiates from the shoulder all the way down into your hand. That's where the peripheral nerves go, so that's where the symptoms are. And they might even feel warmth or pain, or even weakness, right? Not being able to kind of raise your arm normally, because remember, those nerves don't just provide sensation to your arm, but also provide muscle strength. So if they're injured, and it kind of short circuits that for a short period of time, you can even get kind of a short period of paralysis where you can't kind of move your arm normally.
Hmm. For an offensive lineman, what are some things that you guys would do to kind of massage the injury to get to a point where he can play on it? Because I hear stinger, and obviously growing up playing football, you get a stinger, you think about your neck, but like you said, that can kind of reverberate all the way down through your
Sure.
body. But for an offensive lineman that suffers that, what would you guys do as doctors to make sure that he can get out there and play?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's only certain stuff that we can do. Unfortunately, the biggest thing that we can do is wait.
Mm.
That sounds like a cop out, but is the truth. When there's either a traction or compression on the brachial plexus, the biggest thing that helps is time. It heals itself, and the kind of the trauma to that area starts to go down, and hopefully the symptoms resolve very quickly. It can be a matter of seconds, minutes, we hope not hours or days. And if it starts to become hours or days, it's something that needs, further evaluation. It's not something that we just attribute to, oh, it's just a stinger. So, again, hopefully we we kind of get out of the way and let his body heal itself. Now, what we can do to try and prevent something in the future, may be to use some kind of pads, some special pads, spider pads, things like that, in and around the shoulder pads. Sometimes, players will wear collars, underneath or below their helmet, that kind of give a little bit more protection for these, traction injuries or pinching injuries. So, if somebody starts to have recurrent stingers, they're going to take some preventative methods, more in how we set up the uniform and how we kind of protect the player, uniform wise.
Absolutely. And the final thing here on this Singer situation, we understand that Tyron Smith is a guy that gets dinged up fairly easily. And again, most of it's been in practice. Is if a guy who's had this injury, I'm pretty sure before, and obviously a bunch of injuries, the neck, it's just been banged up for the better part of the last 7 or 8 years. What is the likelihood that this injury can return easily, honestly?
Yeah, I mean, again, great question, and that's what I always call it. That's that crystal ball question, right? You want
Yep.
to peer into the crystal ball and know, hey, when is this going to happen again? And I think your point is well taken, though. People or players can have what's called congenital stenosis, or slightly narrower areas where these nerves are going through. And we're not all wired the same. We're not
Yeah.
all a carbon copy robot of each other, and sometimes these areas are a little tighter than others. And so there's more chance that a stinger or a recurrent stinger will happen in certain players based on their just general anatomy. So, I mean, common sense being common, if they've had it before, well, yeah, they're probably a little bit more likely to have it again. It doesn't mean it's a guarantee. It's just statistics, right?
Mhm.
And kind of looking at the at the overall, anatomy of that player. So I don't think it's something that he's going to get a big workup and, oh, they're going to start measuring him for spinal stenosis and all of this stuff. I just think that, yeah, at the end of the day, these sort of things can be recurrent. And if they can, use some techniques to try and minimize that recurrence, all the better for him.
Well, let's hope that he stays upright. I know it's tough for him. He's a battle tested guy, but when he plays, man, he is an important piece to this Cowboys offensive line.
You're a difference
For,
maker for sure.
absolutely. For anybody that may be suffering stingers or their child may be suffering stingers, where can they go to get some advice on how to handle
Yeah,
that?
come see us. Come see us. We've got offices in Fort Worth, as well as in Mansfield and up in Decatur. So come on by. Our cell phone or our main number is 817-529-1900. Or you can always find us online at osmifw.com.
All right, Cowboys Nation, there you have it. Another episode of Doc Talk with Dr. Boothby giving us fantastic insight on the Tyron Smith injury. Hopefully, we don't have to talk to you about Tyron Smith injury for the rest of the year. But if we
Hope not.
do,
Let's put that one away.
we know where to go, man. Take care, Doc. Appreciate you as always.
All right. Take care, guys. We'll see you.